Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts, and this special episode we're actually going to be talking about Crichtonsaurus. And as you can probably tell that from the name itself, Crichtonsaurus is actually named after the author, Michael Crichton, who actually was the guy who wrote Jurassic Park. And let's actually get down to business with this dinosaur. It's actually armored dinosaur from found in Asia, and the time is in the Middle Cretaceous, 95 to 90 million years ago, 10 feet long, and probably weighed between 500 to 1,000 pounds. Now, considering that this is an armored dinosaur called a nodosaur. Now, nodosaurs are actually closely related to the ankylosaurs, but they're actually a different branch of the armored dinosaurs, because they don't have clubs on the end of their tails. They just have defensive armor like spikes and things in like sharp blade like armor pieces that are actually on the tail, and they do have bone is it inside their skin, so that makes them very hard for them to actually for any predator to actually penetrate the skin, especially from the back or otherwise parts of the sides. Now, since that nodosaurs and ankylosaurs, this dinosaur would actually be very slow. With the heavy armor on its body, you don't need to be that fast. And of course, it's a plant-eating dinosaur, and you see, plant-eating dinosaurs don't need to be that fast, unless if you're like a Hypsilophodon or otherwise one of those speedy herbivorous dinosaurs like Leonosaura or otherwise Dryosaurus. But when we actually look at this dinosaur, since it probably was actually since the big predators actually at that time were actually small, medium-sized tyrannosaurs. So probably Electrosaurus would actually be the #1 predator of that time, and since that Electrosaurus is a small to medium-sized tyrannosaur, it is actually one of the big bruisers of the predators in Asia. And since I don't know that much about Crichtonsaurus, and Crichtonsaurus was actually named in 2007, so it probably was discovered sometime in the 2000s. So it was actually a very interesting find. I think the only things that were found of this dinosaur is some pieces of armor, the skull, and a few vertebrae and ribs and leg bones. And I don't think they ever found like the mandible or the bottom jaw, and I don't think they actually have found most of the tail bits, because since the tail bits do get washed away further away from the skeletons because they're lighter, and also they don't actually have, and also they could probably be taken, and probably some bits of the tail could actually be taken away by scavengers. And since that this is not a really complete dinosaur, probably was actually just disarticulated from after it died, probably just a flood that actually just carried some of the bones away, and probably some like parts of the legs were probably taken away by scavengers, considering that the soft underbelly would actually be the weakness of this dinosaur. And considering that nodosaurs actually do include like animals like Edmontonia and Minmi, and also Gastonia. And so Crichtonsaurus would actually be kind of like kind of almost look like Gastonia, but actually not as much spikes on its body. So, considering with Gastonia, that Crichtonsaurus would actually have a very good sense of hearing and good sense of smell, and that's very common for nodosaurs and ankylosaurs. But the only thing that they actually did not have a very good sense of was the sense of sight. They were kind of like rhinos, to be honest with you, because rhinos actually have a very good sense of hearing and a very good sense of smell, but they have very poor eyesight. The only way that they can actually detect a predator is if a predator is actually coming from downwind, or otherwise you can hear a predator coming based on like if any trees fall nearby, or otherwise like any branches that were on the ground that were cracked and can be heard. But usually if a predator does, because the only way you can see a predator is if the predator is close enough for it to see, probably within probably say between 5 to 10 feet from it. So it would not be very far sighted dinosaur. It's a nearsighted dinosaur, so it probably wouldn't actually need to be worried about predators in a far distance. But it can only use its sense of smell and its sense of hearing. But probably like rhinos, they were probably very nervous animals, but sometimes they probably didn't even care that much about interaction with other dinosaurs. Considering that probably these dinosaurs were loners, they probably actually just lived alone and just didn't really need to be worried about any predators coming near it, unless if dromaeosaurs were actually ready to come in and pounce on this dinosaur. I don't know if there were any dromaeosaurs during that time of Asia, 95 to 90 million years ago, but it seems like that it probably didn't even really have to be bothered by predators that much, considering if it's too hard for predators to actually take a shot at it for trying to kill it. But with the Electrosaurus, it probably, because I think the best bet for Crichtonsaurus, if it could just squat down and just basically just stand there, it can probably just stand there and just try to have the Electrosaurus figure out how to actually kill the Crichtonsaurus. But I think majority of the time, probably like 95% of the time, Crichtonsaurus was very successful of actually trying to outwit the Electrosaurus. But Electrosaurus has a bigger brain than Crichtonsaurus, and basically it's just with the brain size of the herbivores of the dinosaurs compared to the carnivores have the bigger brains. And of course, with the extinction of Crichtonsaurus, it probably was actually just basically due to environmental changes or climate change. Like if the plants changed too much, then it probably couldn't actually eat the plants that were actually there. And since that the ceratopsians were actually starting to come about, Protoceratops is probably the dinosaur that probably took over the realms of where Crichtonsaurus couldn't reach. So it would actually be very difficult for Crichtonsaurus to actually get into like places like where there's like very narrow areas where there's like if like the two trees were actually close to each other, and Crichtonsaurus couldn't actually get in between to get to the nice shrubs and ferns that were actually on the ground, then it probably wouldn't have gotten there. But probably the ceratopsians like Protoceratops probably did actually have the access to get to them. And so probably pretty much just climate change and new plants that actually just came about were probably the catalyst for the extinction of Crichtonsaurus. Alright, that's it for now, and next week would actually be an answering questions episode, so if you got a question about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email the questions to me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise you can actually post the questions on a Facebook post on the Facebook page Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris, and also you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter account, so you can actually follow me on Twitter. I do tweet some pretty cool stuff, and also to make sure to follow the Facebook page Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. That way I can actually get some more questions, and I figured that'd be easier for people. And you can post the questions on the comment section on a Facebook post, just to keep a reminder for people, and make sure to take care of the people around you. And also for you younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for a good education. And so very important to have a good education. With a good education, you can get a good job in the future. Alright, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.